Now, there are lots of legends about how many businesses fail at the first hurdle. According to Standard Bank, the small enterprise division there, on average, about 50% of all startup businesses in South Africa fail within 24 months due to the inability and inexperience of their owners. They've got to assume that they know that number because those are only the ones they fund. The real failure rate is probably much higher. I'm Bruce Whitfield. This is the Moneymakers. Two guests who know about growing a business. In Cape Town, I've got the founder and chief executive of Super Brands Group, Cuan Chelin, who grew a small startup of 8 employees into one of the leading investment groups. And in Joburg, Baisch, who is chief executive of PackSolve, who took a small business entity and grew it 160% in 7 years. These guys are not small fry. I'll be with you in a moment, Baisch. But Cuan, take me through it. I mean, you had, until last year, one of the biggest distributorships of sporting goods in South Africa. You decided to get cheeky and you wanted to start importing Speedo. And the guys who import Speedo said, no, we like your business more than you like ours. We'll buy it from you. It's the best of both worlds, surely.
Yeah, it was tough, and it was a tough decision, but it was the best decision for our business. We were growing a big sporting business, so we had related other businesses, but yeah, Speedo was a good fit in that business, and I knew ultimately putting them together was what we wanted to do. And if they were able to do it, and it worked for both of us, we could kind of share in the value created by that. We were happy to do it.
So when you do business with big groups like this, do you have to know when to let go? Who was it that you sold to?
We ultimately sold to a subsidiary of the Sudal Group. It was a company called Brand Identity.
Okay, so Brand Identity bought it. You bought your business originally from Brimstone. There is this wonderful merry-go-round of business which suggests you understand a couple of things about business. Everything's got a life cycle. You get in at a decent price and hopefully out at a better one.
Sure. Yeah, I think as long as we've added value along the chain and grown it to a point where we believe we can extract some value from it, then we don't get too attached to them.
No, but that's also a problem, and also particularly in the startup phase. Have you actually started anything brand new? I mean, you own Toy Kingdom. It's a network of 13 shops here in Cape Town and in Joburg, and I think you got an outlet in Tanzania, and you got a couple of other businesses as well. Have you ever started anything from scratch that you actually have it embedded in your soul as it grows?
Yeah, we've. One that we did start from scratch and still have is a business called Sportingbet, which is South Africa's largest online sports betting business. That was an idea between a friend and mine probably 10 years ago. We applied for a license and launched South Africa's first online sports betting business.
Is your attitude toward your startup different to the attitude towards the other businesses that you buy and you can grow and churn and understand that in their cycle you will eventually let them go?
I think that's a very good question. I suppose it is to some extent because it's really your baby. But after we've acquired any of the businesses or been involved in them, we've always really kind of got stuck into them, and they feel like your own, and they are your own. They become your baby. So yeah, I suppose it is a little bit, but not probably as much as you think.
Are you able to be unemotional about this and say if there's value to be had? Yeah, let's take the money and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, I think we are too, and have been pretty good at that. I'm a chartered accountant by profession. So
you got no soul at all.
So no soul. So look at the numbers and that's it. But there's definitely always other sides to it. There's also the people element. I mean, when we sold the sports betting business, that was not letting go, but moving a whole team of guys that I'd really got close to and fond of and enjoyed working with. So there's also that aspect.
Well, he's a chartered accountant with a little bit of soul. The PackSolve chief executive, Baisch, he's in our Joburg studio. Take me through the PackSolve story, if you would, Alex, and the growth rates that you've managed over the last 7 years.
So, Bruce, we started in 2006, and I acquired a company called Outsourced Packaging, which was a small little industrial packaging business based here in Johannesburg. We had organic growth, I think, in the first 3-4 years of about 25 to 30% year on year each time around. And it just got to a point where the business planed. And we had to decide whether we wanted an equity partner to take it to the next level. And that's the decision we took in back end of 2012. So we got a private equity firm involved, which was a good move for us.
Why is it, do you think, and the Standard Bank numbers I think are quite generous, saying that 50% of businesses will fail in their first 2 years because managers just don't know what they're doing? Is it generally the rule in your experience that companies, good ideas fail because the people running those good ideas run out of ideas, energy, chutzpah perhaps themselves?
Yeah, I think that's partly possible. You know, if you have a startup, and just to your earlier question, outside of the PackSolve group in 2009, we took a decision right after or right during the recession to start a new business, because we just said to ourselves, you know, it's got to be the lowest of the low. It can only go up from here. So if you try a startup at the back end of a recession, a lot of people will look at you and say, look, you're pretty crazy. But we took a very, very small amount of capital, and we have a business now that employs another 30 people, and it's growing annually. So I do believe that you have to know what you're doing. There are a lot of pitfalls for a startup, and if you don't have the life experiences that are there in the background, then a startup can fail within the first 24 months.
Have you blown it before, Alex?
I have, but on a very small scale. It was some school fees. I tried to get into a franchise operation, which didn't really work. But in terms of the startup that we put together, it's in the industrial space, and that's where my background is from. That's where my family history is from, and we made it work.
Does it put your franchising forever? I mean, a lot of people see franchising as the gateway into running their own business, and surprised when it turns out actually to be harder work than they ever imagined.
Yeah, look, franchise work is difficult, and I think if you're going to get into the franchise game, you yourself as the owner or the director have to be involved daily. We tried to do it as a sideline operation, and it didn't really work. You know, my focus as a CEO of PackSolve is to drive that business, to grow it organically. We've got a couple of blue sky projects in the pipeline. And you know, I think the theme of your discussion today is how do you scale a business? We scaled a very small crating company into a large group that now has 540 people, and we promote and put together packaging solutions in the industrial space in 3 different industries. So it's tough out there, and you've got to keep your focus on what you do best. And sometimes if you take your eye off the ball, starting a franchise on the side because you're an entrepreneur and you want to make another buck, it doesn't always work.
Alex, I mean, you talk about focus, and Cuan, you're anything but focused. I'm sure you've focused on the individual businesses, but you run a sports betting business, online sports betting business. You run a network of toy shops, and the third business in the group now?
The golf business.
The golf business. You basically are to blame for everybody in South Africa's lousy handicaps, because you cut people the moment they blink badly on the golf course. 3 completely different businesses. There's no obvious connection between the 3 other than I hope they all make money.
Yeah, well, that's why I say we're more of an investment holding company now with 3 diversified businesses. But the key is each of them have a managing director that runs them and feels like it's his business. So they are very focused. There's small synergies we run between the businesses, basically at a head office back end level. But they're really 3 businesses that get out there and know their industry and markets and customers better than I think any of their competition. And yeah, they're very focused within those businesses.
They're very focused. How do you keep focused? Because if Alex, what Alex's point is that he employs 540 people in the packaging business, that's pretty focused. You've got your eye on different sectors, different segments. Interesting, yes,
yeah.
But is focus that important?
Yeah, I think my focus is always on kind of the business, the strategy side, the looking at new opportunities now, and just being there for my executives, being a support structure for them, and kind of coaching and guiding them and leading them where I can. So lesser kind of having to be involved in the businesses themselves, and more kind of working with that team.
Now, Alex's point to the 2009, nobody was starting businesses except him, and the guy who runs Techie Town doubled his footprint, literally, Bram van Straten. Yeah. He doubled his footprint during the financial crisis. just because he saw opportunity.
Yeah.
It's about being able to seize opportunity in order to grow, isn't it?
Bram, actually, I know Bram, he taught me a very important lesson. One phrase that he said that stuck with me forever, and that was margin forgives many errors. And I think that is something that's so true. We've played in kind of businesses that are low margin, we've played in businesses that are high margin. And when you're in a high margin business, you can afford to make a few errors and still come out okay.
So all of your businesses then are based on that principle?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, margin forgives many errors, Alex Baisch. I mean, it's actually quite a nice catchphrase. Is one that you'll buy?
Yeah, I agree with Cuan, and our structure is very similar to Cuan's as well. We have 3 independent divisions that all have a general manager running them, and they all operate in different industrial spaces. We're in the fruit juice industry, we're in the steel industry, and we're in the mining and heavy engineering industries. So they're all vastly different as well. And the second point I agree with Cuan is margin definitely does forgive mistakes. You know, I came out of an automotive component manufacturing business, which was very, very low margin but high volume, and that can be your death knell. I prefer to work on the other side, have a higher margin, and give yourself that breathing space, because in 2008, 2009 there were a lot of companies that didn't have that breathing space, and they no longer exist. It's the strongest that will survive.
Alex, I mean, forgive me for being a little bit rude about this, but do you actually work? I mean, you've got operational heads who do the job on a daily basis, the executives who run the businesses. Are you able to do what the ultimate 4-hour work week, as the very popular book suggests we should all aim for?
Look, I mean, as Cuan said, I'm there to support the management, the executive management, the general management. I have a function and role in my business to ensure that I can take it down the line 5, 10, 15 years. So to answer your question, yes, I do work. I don't stop working. I eat, sleep and drink work. My wife doesn't like it, but that's what you have to do when you're at the top. And I'm looking at ventures that we want to get into now and that we want to invest in now that will only deliver a return in 5, 8, 10 years' time. So you need that strategy, and you need that foothold in strategy, particularly when you get to our size, to move the business forward. Otherwise, the business is not going to gain traction and do what it's supposed to do.
We'll bring you more brain boxes. We'll bring you more business leaders next time on the Moneymakers. Till then, have yourselves a very good evening. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.